Check your dimes. Some 1980, 1989, 2001, and even 2014 Roosevelt dimes are worth way more than 10 cents. Rare errors like double dies, off-center strikes, and missing details have sold for hundreds, even thousands. Before you spend that dime, look closely. It could be your hidden treasure. Let's talk about a coin that most people would never give a second thought to: a simple dime. A coin worth 10 cents, the kind of change you'd expect to find under the couch cushions or lying in the bottom of a car cup holder. Yet within the world of coin collecting, the 1980 US one-dime error coin has become something of a legend. And here's where the story takes an unbelievable turn. This small 10-cent piece, when struck with certain rare minting errors, can be worth not just a few dollars, not even a few hundred, but an astonishing range between $48,000 and $124,200. Yes, a single dime, just 10 cents, can carry a price tag equivalent to a luxury car, a down payment on a home, or even a life-changing sum for someone who happens to stumble upon one. To understand why the 1980 dime has gained such attention, we first need to take a step back into its place in history. The coin is part of the long-running Roosevelt dime series, first introduced in 1946 to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt after his passing. By 1980, the dime was already a familiar presence in American pockets, unchanged in design for decades. The obverse carried the iconic profile of Roosevelt, with the words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust" clearly visible, while the reverse displayed the torch, olive branch, and oak branch, symbols of liberty, peace, and strength. The year 1980 marked an important era in U.S. coinage because it was a time when the mint began to implement new practices and refinements in production. But with mass production and millions upon millions of coins being struck, mistakes inevitably occurred, and those mistakes gave birth to the kind of error dimes that collectors chase today. One of the most famous varieties of 1980 dime errors comes from missing mint marks. The Philadelphia Mint, for many years, did not place mint marks on its coins, but by 1980, mint marks had become standard. Dimes struck in Philadelphia carried no mint mark, but those produced in Denver carried a small D mint mark, and those from San Francisco carried an S. When minting machinery failed to punch in a mint mark, collectors took notice. A missing mint mark error on a 1980 dime can transform the coin from a regular 10-cent piece into one worth thousands of dollars. And when coupled with high preservation grades, the value shoots even higher. This is one of the key reasons some 1980 dimes are now commanding prices between $48,000 and $124,200 at auction. But missing mint marks aren't the only errors tied to this coin. Double die obverse and reverses, where elements of the design appear doubled because of misalignment during the hubbing process, are another highly prized variety. On some 1980 dimes, doubling can be seen on the word "Liberty," on the motto "In God We Trust," or even in Roosevelt's features themselves. These varieties are particularly attractive to collectors because they are instantly recognizable to the naked eye, and the more dramatic the doubling, the more valuable the coin. A dramatic double die combined with excellent condition can easily place the coin into that breathtaking $48,000 to $124,200 bracket. Off-center strikes are another source of fascination. When the blank coin planchet isn't properly seated in the press, the strike can land off-center, leaving part of the design missing and part of the blank surface exposed. In 1980, off-center dime errors are especially interesting because of how cleanly the Roosevelt design can shift across the coin's surface, creating striking visuals that make each example unique. The more dramatic the off-center strike, say 40% or more, the higher the value, with well-preserved pieces reaching extraordinary heights at auction. Then there are broad strike errors, where the coin is struck without the retaining collar, causing it to spread out and appear larger than normal. While not as common as off-center strikes, broad strikes from 1980 can be dramatic and collectible, particularly when the design remains complete but slightly distorted. These quirky imperfections remind collectors of the human and mechanical elements behind coinage, and they are willing to pay generously for such rare finds. The condition of these coins cannot be overstated when talking about value. Circulated dimes, even with errors, are interesting, but their wear significantly reduces their worth. A circulated 1980 dime error might fetch hundreds or thousands, but when one of these coins turns up in mint state or proof-like condition, the value multiplies tenfold. It's why collectors pay close attention to surfaces, luster, and strike quality. The leap from a lower-end valuation to the top tier of $124,200 often comes down to condition combined with rarity. What makes this story even more intriguing is how these coins are discovered. Unlike certain rare coins that are well documented and widely known, error dimes often surface unexpectedly. A coin roll hunter opening a roll of dimes from the bank might suddenly spot a missing mint mark. Someone going through their pocket change could stumble upon an off-center strike. Stories abound of people who ignored their coins for years, only to later realize they had been holding onto a rare error worth tens of thousands. The thrill of discovery is part of what keeps collectors endlessly fascinated with the 1980 dime and others like it. It's also worth noting that error coins serve as a reminder of how perfection isn't always the goal in collecting. In fact, perfection often makes a coin common. Every dime that left the mint flawlessly struck in 1980 is worth only its face value, 10 cents. But the flawed ones, the ones with mistakes, are the true treasures. This paradox is one of the most exciting aspects of numismatics. The idea that imperfection drives rarity, and rarity drives value. It is exactly this paradox that transformed the 1980 dime error into a coin capable of commanding between $48,000 and $124,200 in today's market. For collectors, the 1980 dime error coin is not just about its monetary value but also its place in history. It represents a moment when the U.S. Mint, despite all its precision and quality controls, allowed small mistakes to escape into circulation. Each error coin is like a frozen moment in time, a tiny artifact that speaks to both human fallibility and the relentless pace of coin production. When you hold one of these coins, you are holding a piece of history that survived decades unnoticed, only to resurface as a prized collectible. And for the everyday person, the lesson is simple. Don't ignore your change. That little dime you toss into a jar could very well be the key to unlocking a fortune. It might look ordinary, but under the right circumstances, it could be worth more than you ever imagined. And if you happen to spot one of these rare 1980 dime errors, you're not just looking at 10 cents, you're holding something that could be worth as much as $124,200. This is the magic of coins. They're small, often overlooked, but they carry stories, history, and sometimes unimaginable value. The 1980 dime error is a perfect example of how the smallest piece of change can create the biggest impact. It's why collectors continue searching, and why the rest of us might want to start paying closer attention to what passes through our hands. The 1989 US dime is one of those coins that people pass over without even a second glance. It's a small denomination, it's lightweight, and most of us have tossed countless dimes into parking meters, vending machines, or laundry machines without thinking twice. But what if I told you that this small coin, a simple 10-cent piece, could actually carry a hidden fortune? In the world of coin collecting, 1989 error dimes have been known to fetch shocking sums, with values ranging from $40,000 to $120,200 depending on the type of error and the condition of the coin. That's the kind of story that makes ordinary pocket change suddenly feel like treasure waiting to be uncovered. To understand why a dime from 1989 could be so valuable, you need to know a little about how coins are made. The dime's design, featuring President Franklin D. Roosevelt on the obverse and a torch flanked by olive and oak branches on the reverse, has been around since 1946. By 1989, this design had become familiar, almost invisible in daily life. But behind the scenes at the U.S. Mint, the process of striking coins was far from flawless. Even with precise machinery, errors can and do happen. And when they do, those mistakes become some of the most sought-after collectibles in numismatics. The 1989 dime errors fall into several categories. Some are classic double-die strikes, where the design appears doubled, giving the coin an eerie shadow effect. Others are off-center strikes, where the coin blank wasn't properly aligned with the dies, creating a coin with part of the design missing and a blank crescent on one side. And then there are wrong planchet errors, where a dime was accidentally struck on metal meant for another denomination, such as a penny or even a foreign coin planchet. Imagine holding a dime-sized coin with the wrong metal color or thickness. That's the kind of anomaly that can drive collectors wild and send prices soaring. One of the reasons these 1989 error dimes are so valuable is scarcity. Billions of dimes were minted that year, but only a tiny fraction slipped through with noticeable errors. Most were caught and destroyed, but a few escaped, ending up in circulation. Some may have gone unnoticed in change for decades before someone with a sharp eye recognized what they had. Those lucky enough to discover them quickly realized that they weren't holding just 10 cents. They were holding a small fortune. And the numbers don't lie. At auction, certain 1989 era dimes have brought astonishing results. The range between $40,000 and $120,200 is not just speculation. It's what the market has shown collectors are willing to pay. Condition plays a huge role here. A coin that has been in circulation, showing scratches and wear, may still bring tens of thousands. But one that has been preserved in mint state, possibly certified and graded by a top agency like PCGS or NGC, can push into six-figure territory. That's why collectors obsess over details like luster, strike, and even the tiniest imperfections. For everyday people, the idea that a dime could be worth over $100,000 feels almost unbelievable. After all, we think of dimes as disposable, the coins we barely notice when fishing change out of our wallets. But that's the magic of coin collecting. It transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary. Every coin tells a story, and in the case of the 1989 dime, the story is about imperfection. It's about a moment when the machinery of the mint, designed for flawless repetition, slipped just enough to create a rarity. Let's imagine a scenario. Someone gets change back at a grocery store in the early 1990s. They pocket a dime that looks a little odd, maybe slightly off-center, maybe the lettering seems doubled. They don't think much of it and toss it into a jar with other coins. Decades later, that jar is opened, and the coin is examined more closely. Suddenly, what was once just another dime is revealed to be a high-value error coin. That single coin, once worth 10 cents, is now valued somewhere between $40,000 and $120,200. That's the kind of discovery that changes how people look at the coins in their pockets. Collectors often describe the thrill of the hunt as one of the biggest joys of the hobby. Hunting for rare coins is like treasure hunting, except the treasure could already be in your home, hiding in plain sight. The 1989 dime error is a perfect example. It's not from centuries ago, it's not made of gold or silver, but it carries immense value because of what it represents. A rare slip-up in an otherwise highly controlled minting process. Now, let's break down why the price range is so wide. First, rarity is not uniform across all error types. A slightly off-center dime from 1989 might fetch tens of thousands, but a dramatic off-center strike, where half the design is missing, will command far more. A dime struck on the wrong planchet, say on a copper penny blank, would be even rarer and thus even more valuable. The specific type of error makes a huge difference in value. Second, as mentioned, condition is key. Coins that have never circulated and still have their original shine can easily break into six figures. Third, market demand fluctuates. As new collectors enter the field, interest in certain dates and errors can spike, driving prices upward. There's also a psychological factor. Collectors love coins that make a statement, and a dime worth six figures certainly does that. Owning such a coin is like holding a secret piece of history, a mistake that should never have existed but somehow did. It's proof that even the most careful systems have cracks, and in those cracks, treasures emerge. The 1989 dime error story also serves as a reminder for us to slow down and pay attention. How many of us handle coins every day without really looking at them? The truth is, there are probably still error coins circulating right now, unrecognized, waiting for someone to notice. That's why experts encourage people to check their change, to study their coins, to look for the unusual. Because while most dimes will only ever be worth 10 cents, there's always a chance that one of them could be worth as much as a house or a luxury car. And that's the beauty of the 1989 dime error. It teaches us that value isn't always obvious. Sometimes the most valuable things are hidden in the most ordinary places. A jar of coins on a dresser, a forgotten roll of dimes in a drawer, a bit of loose change at the bottom of a bag. Somewhere among those common coins could be one of the rare errors worth between $40,000 and $120,200. So the next time you come across a dime from 1989, don't just toss it aside. Hold it up to the light. Look closely at the date, at the lettering, at the edges. Does anything look off? Could it be slightly misaligned, doubled, or struck on the wrong metal? Because if it is, you might be staring at one of the rarest and most valuable dimes ever released into circulation. It's an incredible reminder that sometimes, even the smallest and most overlooked items can hide extraordinary secrets. The 1989 dime error isn't just a coin. It's a story of imperfection, of chance, and of hidden value. And for the lucky few who find one, it's also a life-changing discovery worth tens of thousands, or even over $100,000. When people think about a dime, they usually imagine it as the smallest, simplest coin in circulation, often overlooked and barely given attention. Yet history shows us that within these tiny pieces of change lies the potential to change lives, because certain error coins are worth far more than anyone could have ever expected. One such fascinating story comes from the year 2001, when a dime, struck with unusual and rare errors, turned into a collector's dream and carried a value that no one could have imagined when it first left the US Mint. And believe it or not, the value of this small coin has been recorded at jaw-dropping figures ranging anywhere from $38,000 to $114,200 depending on its condition and rarity. The thought that a dime you might have spent on a gumball could instead be a ticket to a fortune is what makes this story so captivating. The Roosevelt dime has long been an iconic coin in the United States. Introduced in 1946, following the death of President Franklin D. Roosevelt, it became a permanent tribute to a man who led the nation through the Great Depression and World War II. Since then, billions of dimes have been minted, making them one of the most common coins in America's change. But as with all mass production, errors occasionally slip through, and when they do, the coin suddenly transforms from pocket change into a collectible rarity that could fetch staggering prices at auction. That's exactly what happened in 2001. And the story of this error coin continues to make waves among collectors. To understand why the 2001 Roosevelt dime with errors is so significant, we first need to recognize how coins are minted. At the US Mint, a blank piece of metal, called a planchet, is fed into high-powered presses that strike it with immense force, imprinting the design of the coin. Ideally, this process happens flawlessly, but sometimes the presses misalign, sometimes the planchets are defective, and sometimes foreign objects slip into the process. When that happens, errors occur, and those coins, instead of being discarded, sometimes make it out into circulation. And when sharp-eyed collectors or lucky everyday people discover them, those coins can become highly sought after. The 2001 dime is known for several possible striking anomalies. In some cases, the error may include an off-center strike, where part of the design doesn't align properly with the coin. In others, doubling in the lettering or Roosevelt's portrait has been observed, creating a dramatic doubling effect that collectors crave. Still other examples show dramatic die cracks, cuds, or even missing design features caused by minting mishaps. Because of these rare mistakes, the coin transformed from ordinary change into something so scarce that collectors are willing to pay tens of thousands of dollars to own it. And that's where the incredible price range comes in. Coins of this type have fetched from $38,000 on the lower end all the way up to an astonishing $114,200 at major auctions when they are found in pristine condition with dramatic, eye-catching errors. Stories of these coins being discovered add even more allure. Picture someone sorting through a jar of dimes they've had sitting in the kitchen for years, only to notice that one looks odd, misaligned, or doubled. What at first seemed like nothing unusual can turn out to be a six-figure discovery. That's why collectors and enthusiasts spend so much time searching through everyday change. They know that treasures like the 2001 error dime are still out there, just waiting to be discovered. But it isn't just about luck. Collectors value these coins for what they represent. A piece of minting history, a once-in-a-lifetime error that slipped through the system and found its way into circulation. It's a reminder of the imperfections in even the most controlled processes, and it gives each coin a story, a unique identity that no perfectly struck dime could ever have. For the 2001 dime error, that story is what elevates its worth and turns it into a coveted gem among coin enthusiasts. When looking closely at this coin, one can see how each error tells its own tale. An off-center strike reveals the sheer force and speed of the minting process, where just a fraction of a second of misalignment created a coin that today can command tens of thousands. Doubling in the design reflects the precision required in die making, and how even a small slip can produce dramatic effects that collectors see as beautiful mistakes. Die cracks and cuds are evidence of aging machinery and overused dies, showing how the mint's relentless production schedule left its mark on history. Each error is like a fingerprint, making the coin unique. And in the world of coin collecting, uniqueness equals value. The price range of $38,000 to $114,200 is not arbitrary. It reflects real demand in the marketplace, as collectors fiercely compete to own these coins. Auction houses have reported intense bidding wars whenever an exceptional example comes to the market. And as more people become aware of just how valuable certain error coins can be, the demand only increases. It's no exaggeration to say that if you happen to come across one of these in your change, you might be holding a life-changing piece of metal in your hands. Another layer to the story is the role of grading. Professional coin grading services carefully examine coins for authenticity, condition, and detail. For error coins like the 2001 dime, grading is crucial because it establishes both the authenticity of the error and the quality of the coin. A higher grade can mean the difference between a $38,000 sale and one that skyrockets to over $100,000. Collectors are willing to pay a premium not just for rarity, but for condition, because a flawless example magnifies the beauty of the error and cements its place as a trophy piece in any collection. Beyond the marketplace, coins like the 2001 error dime inspire countless people to take a closer look at their everyday change. Instead of casually spending dimes or tossing them in a drawer, more and more individuals have turned to coin collecting, hoping to stumble upon their own rare treasure. It's a reminder that history, value, and even fortune can hide in the smallest, most unassuming objects. What makes the 2001 Roosevelt dime error even more special is that it connects the ordinary with the extraordinary. It is a coin most of us handle daily, yet in this rare form, it becomes a work of art, a piece of history, and a financial asset all rolled into one. The fact that such a tiny, easily overlooked coin can reach values as high as $114,200 is a testament to the passion of collectors and the enduring allure of rare errors. The next time you hold a dime in your hand, think about the possibilities. Somewhere out there, a 2001 Roosevelt dime error could still be in circulation, hiding in a cash register, resting in a coin jar, or sitting unnoticed in someone's pocket. And if you're lucky enough to find one, you might discover that your 10-cent piece isn't worth 10 cents at all. It could be worth anywhere from $38,000 to $114,200. That's the magic of coin collecting. The chance that something ordinary could turn into something extraordinary. A reminder that hidden treasures can exist in the most unexpected places. Every single day, millions of Americans handle loose change without realizing the hidden value that could be sitting in their pocket. A dime, one of the smallest coins in size and value, is often overlooked. Most people toss it in a jar, use it to pay for parking, or don't even bother to pick it up off the ground. But the 2014 United States dime error coin proves why ignoring small change might be a costly mistake. This isn't just an ordinary 10-cent piece. With its rare minting errors, it has taken the numismatic world by storm, fetching incredible sums at auctions ranging anywhere from $30,000 to an astonishing $98,000. Imagine holding a dime worth more than some luxury cars or enough to pay off college tuition. That's the incredible reality of the 2014 dime error coin. To understand why this coin is so special, we need to first remember what the dime represents. Since 1946, the Roosevelt dime has carried the portrait of Franklin D. Roosevelt, the 32nd President of the United States. His leadership during the Great Depression and World War II cemented him as one of the most important figures in American history. The dime was chosen to honor him not only for his presidency but also for his tireless efforts in the fight against polio, as the March of Dimes charity became deeply connected to his legacy. By 2014, the Roosevelt dime design had been in circulation for nearly 70 years, minted by the billions. At first glance, every 2014 dime seems identical. Roosevelt's profile on the obverse, the torch, olive branch, and oak branch on the reverse. But for a select few, something went wrong during the minting process, errors that would make these ordinary coins extraordinary treasures. Minting errors are like fingerprints of imperfection. They are rare, unpredictable, and each one tells its own story. In 2014, a small number of dimes left the mint with unusual flaws. Some were struck off-center, where part of the design is missing and a blank crescent of metal appears along the rim. Others were double-struck, meaning the coin was hit by the dies more than once, creating a ghostly overlapping image of Roosevelt's face or the reverse design. A few were struck on the wrong planchet. Imagine a dime design pressed onto a blank meant for a penny or a foreign coin. These mistakes create coins that should not exist, and that rarity is what makes collectors willing to pay life-changing amounts for them. Think about it. A dime that slips through production with a major error is not just another coin. It becomes one of a kind, a little piece of American history born out of chance. When one of these 2014 dime errors surfaced at auction, collectors went wild. The bids climbed higher and higher until the final gavel came down at more than $60,000. And that was just one example. Depending on the type of error, its rarity, and the condition of the coin, these 2014 dimes have commanded prices between $30,000 and $98,000. For something that costs only 10 cents in everyday life, that kind of return is mind-blowing. Stories of discoveries fuel the passion of coin collectors across the country. Imagine a teenager helping his grandfather roll coins to take to the bank. Among the ordinary change, one 2014 dime stands out. It looks strangely off-center. Instead of dismissing it, they do a little research and send it off to be authenticated. Weeks later, the coin comes back graded as a rare mint error. At auction, it sells for more than $40,000, enough to cover the teenager's college tuition. What started as a casual family task turned into a life-changing discovery. That's the magic of coins like the 2014 error dime. For many collectors, the appeal lies not only in the money but also in the uniqueness. No two error coins are exactly the same. Even if two dimes were struck off-center, the amount of the missing design, the angle, and the overall appearance would differ. Each one is like a snowflake, unique and impossible to replicate. That one-of-a-kind quality makes these coins deeply desirable. For investors, the financial upside is undeniable. A dime purchased for a modest sum today could appreciate over the years as demand for rare error coins continues to grow. For collectors, it's about owning something that no one else has, a piece of history frozen in metal. Condition also plays a massive role in determining the value of these coins. A 2014 error dime that spent years circulating in pockets and cash registers will still be valuable, but its worth won't compare to one that remains in pristine condition. Professional grading services like PCGS and NGC evaluate these coins on a scale, considering strike quality, luster, and overall preservation. A high-grade error dime can be the difference between a coin worth $30,000 and one that breaks records closer to $98,000. That's why collectors take preservation so seriously. The allure of the 2014 error dime also lies in its accessibility. Unlike rare commemorative coins or ancient gold pieces, these dimes were minted for everyday circulation. That means anyone could, in theory, stumble across one in their change. This possibility keeps the excitement alive. Every time someone pays with cash, every time a cashier drops coins into a hand, there's that slim chance of spotting something unusual. And that slim chance has been enough to keep people searching through jars, drawers, and rolls of dimes. Think about the thrill of discovery. You're counting change at the end of the day, barely paying attention, when suddenly you notice something strange on a dime. The date is 2014, but the design looks doubled. You take a closer look, do some research, and realize you might be holding an error coin. That realization hits like lightning. What was worth 10 cents might actually be worth tens of thousands of dollars. It's that thrill that drives people to keep searching, the sense that treasure could be hiding in plain sight. Auction houses have documented numerous dramatic bidding wars over error coins like the 2014 dime. Collectors understand that opportunities to acquire such pieces are rare. Once a coin enters a private collection, it may not reappear on the market for decades. That scarcity is what pushes prices higher and higher. At one memorable sale, a bidding war between two determined collectors sent the price of a 2014 dime error skyrocketing past $90,000. For those watching, It was a reminder that even the smallest coin can command enormous respect and value when it carries the weight of rarity. But why are people so willing to pay such staggering sums? For some, it's about the investment. Rare coins have proven to be strong performers over time, often appreciating in value as more collectors enter the market. For others, it's about the history. Holding a 2014 dime error is like holding a tangible reminder that even in the age of machines and mass production, mistakes happen, and sometimes those mistakes become treasures. And for the most passionate collectors, it's about love. The love of the hunt, the love of owning something extraordinary, and the pride of knowing their collection includes a coin that very few others will ever see in person. The story of the 2014 dime error also serves as an invitation. It invites people to slow down and look more closely at the small things in life. A dime might seem insignificant, but when you realize it could be worth up to $98,000, suddenly every coin matters. It's a reminder that treasures often hide where we least expect them. And it's a call to action. Check your change, search those coin jars, and pay attention to the details. Because you never know when the smallest coin in your hand could turn out to be the most valuable. So the next time you hold a dime, take a closer look. Study Roosevelt's profile, examine the date, and check for anything unusual. Look for doubling, off-center strikes, or anything that feels out of place. Because one of those ordinary-looking 2014 dimes could be the extraordinary error coin that transforms your 10-cent piece into a life-changing discovery worth between $30,000 and $98,000. The 2014 US dime error coin is more than money. It's a story of chance, rarity, and unexpected fortune. It's proof that even in a world where billions of coins are struck with machine precision, imperfection can create something priceless. And it's a reminder that treasure hunting doesn't always mean digging in caves or exploring shipwrecks. Sometimes, treasure is hiding in your pocket, just waiting for someone with a keen eye to recognize it.